Hello there guys, Daniel Childs back here again. Rational perspective on Chelsea 4, Brighton 2. A quite mental first half, followed by a pretty tame second half. But I have to say, the Cole Palmer performance, one of the greatest individual performances I've ever seen live at Stamford Bridge. Absolutely privileged to watch that. And then just obviously the madness and chaos that ensued around Palmer. But that, almost in a lot of ways, yesterday's game, especially yesterday's first half, kind of felt quite symbolic as a representation of Cole Palmer's Chelsea career, because there's been a lot of chaos around him at Chelsea, but he has risen above it, has become a star, has become a sensational talent that, you know, rises the level of Chelsea's performance by so many notches. And, in terms of individual players and their importance to their team, like top quality players, Palmer has to be one of the best in the world currently. I mean, even when you compare him to players like, I don't know, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Vinicius Jr., players who, of course, are extremely talented, world-class talent, playing at the highest level. But I think Palmer's individual importance for Chelsea is so big that you have to factor that in as well. That's not to say that Palmer was the only good thing about Chelsea's performance yesterday and the rest of it was rubbish. Obviously, that's silly. But Palmer was the guy who single-handedly destroyed Brighton, and his 4 goals were absolutely miraculous, and we'll look through in some depth along with some other things as well. Please hit that like button, please subscribe, let me know your thoughts on the game, some things that you're excited about moving forward with Chelsea. I think the first thing, and this is just a general thing, is credit to Enzo Maresca, because watching Chelsea so far this season has been pleasantly surprising to see how adaptable and flexible he's been and how aggressive Chelsea are. It's not that Chelsea never want to have possession of the ball. They don't want to build up from deep. That's not the point of this. It's just the aggressive nature of the team, the intensity, the high turnovers, the ability of them to kind of thrive in chaos is a lot more different than I think many of us anticipated based on the evidence we had from his time at Leicester. I don't know if it's by design or not. I don't know if it's because he's working with a higher caliber of player, so he feels the license to be a bit free with his talent now compared to what he was working with in the Championship. But whatever it is, it's working, and that's great to see, and feels a lot more in keeping with Chelsea as a club. Kind of chaos ball, this aggressive in your face, kind of high turnover, of course with sprinkling of talent and tactics, but a feeling that the team is being unleashed, especially in that attacking sense. Attack wise, like Chelsea are miles better than what they used to be. I mean, we used to have such a problem with our attack and scoring goals and creating high volume of quality opportunities. That is so much different, obviously with caliber of players like Cole Palmer, but others too that are contributing, and it'd be disingenuous to not give some credit to Enzo Maresca, because the start to this season has been a lot better than I think most of us expected. So let's hope that continues. Looking at the starting 11, I was not entirely shocked that barely anything changed. I mean, I expected that Malo Gusto would return, but Sanchez, Fofana, Cole Walker, Correa, Fernandes, Caicedo, Sancho, Palmer, Madueke, Jackson. It's easy to keep a winning team, and you can't really have a go at the coach for doing that. And given the way the game eventually turned out, it's another win. I think obviously in the long term that Nkunku conversation will come up, but listen, Chelsea are winning games, and at the moment that justifies the manager's selections. It always is. So listen, the game started terribly, and let's get the negative out the way first. Robert Sanchez, I mean, jokes flying around post-game that it was Cole Palmer 4, Robert Sanchez 2. Maybe a little bit simplistic, but it kind of did sum up the game. And I think the annoyance from a Chelsea perspective is, if it wasn't for those 2 errors by Robert Sanchez, this game probably ends 4-0 Chelsea, because, individual errors and errors that Sanchez unfortunately has been accustomed to. It's kind of part of his game and part of what you accept when you play him. I think the unfortunate thing about Sanchez is, despite a couple of good weeks, he kind of fell back into his old traits against his old club and gifted them a goal. In the first one, yes, it's not just on him, but he does not need to rush out like that and leave his goal exposed and leave the opportunity for Rutter to get a header. And that goes in, and that's 1-0. Luckily, Chelsea responded in a brilliant way. But then the second one is even more egregious when he just casually, almost not looking, plays a ball into a dangerous area when Chelsea are being pressed. It was sort of things we saw during pre-season, but that's not on Maresca. That is things we saw this time last year from Sanchez. And unfortunately, I think it is just more evidence that some flaws within players' games just cannot be overcome. I know Maresca was kind of defending in post-game and says we're going to see more of that. I don't think if that happens like 10 times this season, Maresca will be accepting it, especially if it comes in games where Chelsea, it's a lot closer, and it comes, say, against Arsenal and it's 0-0 with like 10 minutes to go. I don't think it will be as accepted. It's certainly already isn't accepted by the Stamford Bridge crowd, and that's not something that you just go, well, it's growing pains. It's something that we have seen before with Robert Sanchez. Maybe not under Enzo Maresca so far this season, but we even saw it in pre-season too. So Sanchez is Sanchez, unfortunately. But the rest of the team, or the rest of the attack, and what we want to talk about here is obviously very exciting. And looking at the stats overall, I mean, Chelsea, despite scoring 4 goals, had less of the ball, 59% possession for Brighton overall. But Chelsea's XG, 4.16, absolutely dominated in that sense. And it shows you that kind of, we spoke about this already before, another, kind of irony to Maresca's Chelsea so far. There's been a lot of times I've talked about us having not a lot of the ball, but actually dominating games and creating good opportunities. That is the thing that matters at the end of the day. And Brighton only having an XG of 1.1, and a lot of that is due to obviously gifting them the ball inside our box twice. And, obviously that is something that cannot continue. Although level on shots, but shots on target 7-5, big chances 7-3. And then looking at XG again, more in depth, XG overall 4.16, XG in open play 3.14 for Chelsea, XG at set plays 0.25, non-penalty XG 3.37. So even though we had a penalty, still high XG in open play. That's really good to see. And XG on target 3.10. But let's look at Cole Palmer. Obviously, the free kick, when watching Match of the Day back, I actually forgot how far out Palmer was, even seeing it live. And that free kick is going to be played over and over and over again. You run out of ways to describe the genius of Cole Palmer, the ease to which he does these miraculous things and achieves things. Another stat broken for him. The first Premier League player to score 4 goals in one half. I believe now he's scored more hat-tricks than, is it Didier Drogba or Jamie Floyd Hasselbank in a short period of time. Just absolutely insane stats for a player of his age too. But I want to look at Chelsea's pressing. Chelsea's pressing I thought was brilliant, and the way they exposed that Brighton high line in that first half was brilliant to see. Again, kind of reflecting the intensity and the directness of Chelsea's game. And of course, we could have scored a couple more, not only with missed chances, but a few tight offside calls. But the way Jackson, Palmer, Madueke, Sancho, all of that attacking quartet, plus the passing of Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, passes over the top, made such a huge difference in this game. And the pressing too forced Brighton into so many errors inside their own half. It was really good to see the block and the aggressive. Something we talked about against Wolves that was really good to see in that second half. It was kind of similar here in the way Chelsea pounced on those mistakes from Brighton and exploited space at speed. But here, this is for the 4th goal. And I think it's a combination. The reason I look at this 4th goal was the first one is a tap-in. I thought it was really good pressure from Jackson, who I thought had a good game. The second one is a penalty. Really good from Sancho to win the penalty. We're going to talk about Sancho just here. And obviously the third one is an insane free kick. The 4th one feels like more of a team goal and also a sign of Sancho's creativity, but also, of course, Cole Palmer's incredible movement and finishing. So we win the ball back. Fernandez gives it to Sancho, and Sancho's creativity, I mean, I'm proven wrong so far in terms of his impact and influence on this Chelsea team. He looks so at home at Chelsea, but we see here he picks up the ball and he's got several options. Can play it into Palmer, can play it maybe back to Enzo Fernandez. Madueke's calling for it. Unfortunately, Jackson's offside. But the way Palmer just, in a flash, spots this space, runs instinctively into it between both centre-backs of Brighton, Duncan, Webster, and the pass of Sancho. We've seen Sancho's passing in and around this area is sublime. It really is. The weight of passing is brilliant. We saw it against Bournemouth in a tight, congested area that led to Nkunku's winner. We've seen it already this season that Sancho is making a lot of difference in these tight areas. He seems to thrive when there's more players to go at, and that's wonderful to see. And the influence already, when there's actually still more to go, he's still got to score his first Chelsea goal. It's brilliant. But the weighted pass is brilliant to spot it, but also Palmer's run, just the instinctive run. darting into that near post, and then the finish. I mean, the finish is wonderful. I know we've come to expect it with Cole Palmer, but the finish is insane. It really is. Verbruggen isn't even properly down on the floor when that ball goes past him, and just a player who just cannot be stopped, as Fabian Hertzler admitted post-game. The second half, though, Palmer could have actually had a lot more in terms of assists. The passing for Nicholas Jackson on several occasions was phenomenal. The first one here, just after half-time. Again, weight of pass, yes, there's not a lot of pressure on the ball, but the weight of pass into Jackson is brilliant. This no-look pass for Noni Madueke is insane as well. Just maybe showing that chemistry building that he always expects now, but Madueke on the right side is going to be there. So just laying it off coolly there, that gets Chelsea into another great position, and it was another good block by Webster. Brighton had to do a lot of last-ditch defending in this game to prevent it being more than 4 goals, because it could have been a tap-in for either Sancho or Jackson at the back post. This one was arguably his best pass of the game. Just the first time over the top, just shortly after half-time, and Jackson jumps on it again. Great movement from Nicholas Jackson, who I think deserves a lot of flowers for this game. Yes, he could have scored, but I think, again, his movement, tireless work, great pressing, the way he links up with others, I think, again, such great proof in this game of what Jackson offers to Chelsea all round and why he's become such a rounded centre-forward. So, yeah, this, you could argue maybe he should get the shot away faster, maybe he should lift it a bit more, but I think it's just a great clearance off the line, and I thought all round that was another brilliant pass. I think in terms of Chelsea's flaws in this game, yeah, sure. Defensively, there were fragility, but I thought structurally it was good to see post-half-time that Maresca, Chelsea defended a little bit deeper as the half went on, but still provided that attacking threat too. Sancho, obviously spoken about. I thought Caicedo was the better of the midfield pair, but Fernandes had some good moments, but I think, Caicedo is still very much balling in central midfield. He is dominating those areas, and Palmer, Madueke, Sancho, Jackson, they're very much justifying their starts at the moment. I think Madueke obviously could have had a goal himself, but the speed to which Chelsea attack is part of Madueke's threat too on that right side. It's just, again, it's going to be interesting to see as we move forward how Nkunku maybe comes back into this team. But all round, sublime game. Yes, some shaky moments. There was chaos in that first half, and I think the longer term conversation will be, as we had during the summer, in terms of Sanchez's place and whether you accept those errors, because they can be very costly. Luckily, on this occasion, we had Cole Palmer, who scores 4 goals, and we get away with it. In tighter games, obviously, that's going to be a bigger problem. But I just think credit to Maresca. It was a lovely atmosphere inside Stamford Bridge, and just an absolute privilege to watch Palmer absolutely destroy another opposition. And we need to keep him. We need to have him for a long period of time, because his influence in this team is amazing, not just in his finishing, which is world-class. I'm going to use that phrase. I know it's kind of beaten to death at this point, but it truly is sublime. And then his passing too, his vision could have added more goals to the Chelsea game and actually added more to this outstanding performance. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on the game. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.